Mini Wargamer Dave here from miniwargaming.com. Welcome, Wargamers, to another episode of Shrine of Chaos. Today, as you can see here, we have a very special guest. Say hello to Mr. Duncan Rhodes.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing very well. It's very cold here, so if you're in England, I hope you keep them warm.
So we're going to be talking with Duncan today. I hear this, if you guys hear the little ringing in the background, that should be because people are donating to the Super Chat, which is pretty cool because I haven't asked for it or prompted it. It's just simply happening right now. And it's happening a lot, which is odd because it's like, it almost sounds like it's happening automatically, which makes me think that it's just, can you guys hear that? If you can, say, yes, I can hear that. And if it's happening like every 10 seconds, I'm going to have to turn down the volume on it because it's a little distracting. Yeah, but yes, okay. I hear yes. So there's something going on there. Or maybe it's just the fact that I'm talking to you, Duncan, and you are a popular guy. So maybe people just want to hear more of you, and they're thinking that if they leave those comments and they super chat the comments, then they can get a comment to you better. So maybe that's just it too.
Life is very strange. But thank you.
And so, in fact, if you guys do have any comments specifically for Duncan, obviously I'll do the best that I can to get as many as I can of your comments to Duncan. But if you want one to stick out, there is always the super chat. You could try that. And so, in the meantime, as you guys are calibrating yourselves and thinking about what to say to Duncan, I'm going to just ask you a few questions, Duncan. I'm going to be selfish here and have you all to myself for a few minutes and ask you a few things that I wanted to know. First and foremost, if you guys haven't seen a couple videos that Duncan and I have made together in the past, one, I interview him in person when I went to Warhammer World. That was a couple years, 2 or 3 years. It was a little bit ago that we did that. The interview video where I semi-seriously talked to you in that interview. And then there's another collaboration video where I may have pretended to be you at Warhammer World, and that was a lot of fun to do. I must say, guilty pleasure. I had fun being you, Duncan, at Warhammer World. Getting an employee discount.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember being tied up in the closet.
And so, somebody just mentioned you are the Gretzky of miniature painting, and I must agree with this. Also, being a Canadian, I double agree with this. I think that's a very good comparison. I'm not sure how much you watch hockey, but
Is that Wayne Gretzky?
That is Wayne Gretzky. Yes,
I'm aware of it. As far as I understand, he's a nice guy, but I don't know much else.
That's what I see and hear as well. So I mean there you go. That makes sense.
Well, thank you. That's nice to say.
In Duncan we trust. As I'm reading more of the comments. Miss Ola Coates, you don't apply thinly.
I'm only wearing one at the moment.
Okay, so just to start off some questions here. So Duncan, there's a question on people's minds, which I'm sure some people, if they don't know already, are thinking, and that's you've left Games Workshop. So is there anything you could say about that, and like the leaving and why and so forth?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've gone rogue. Loose cannon now. I play by my own rules. Well, basically, so it's not just me that left. I left at the same time with a fellow called Roger Yates, who actually way back when the painting tutorial video stuff started, he was a guy who worked in the video department, and it was kind of like his vision and his idea of doing these tutorials.
Right.
And it was by chance that I ended up working with him on this How to Paint Citadel Miniatures DVD that came with one of these old painting books.
Right.
And the two of us really hit it off because we both had the same kind of vision for it.
Yeah.
He wanted to make these videos to help people get into the hobby, and my favorite part of what I was doing at the time was doing painting guides and trying to unlock things for people. So the two of us have been working together closely for 8 or 9 years now on this sort of stuff. And now Roger's always had a dream of owning his own business, and he always wanted to when he was younger, but he's of course never really had the ability, and it's quite a scary prospect just to think I'm going to go out on my own and fend off.
Right.
I fend for myself and do all this kind of stuff. And we just sort of came to the thought that people knew what we did in our work, and we had a platform of it. And we had a really good opportunity to go and do something for ourselves that a lot of people simply just don't ever get the chance for it. It seemed like a golden opportunity to realize, in particular for Roger, for these dreams. And for me, it was quite an exciting prospect to be able to go and do like forge your own way in the world. So we started talking about it, and we kind of came to the point where we both realized that if we never tried, then we'd always wonder what could have happened. And if we never did, we'd have regrets about never taking the opportunity. And it felt like it would have been a shame not to have a go. So we plucked up all our courage and we went for it. And I mean, we didn't just do it. We were thinking about it. We learned quite a bit. You know, we had to learn how to run a business and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And a whole extra host of skills on top of what we normally would do.
Right.
And yeah, so one day we made the jump, and yeah, it's actually been a wild ride ever since. It's been scary, stressful, but amazing, and just like such a incredible feeling to see things working.
Right.
So that's kind of really the driving reason for it. We basically just wanted to like achieve that dream of becoming self-employed.
Right.
And now we are. We were even discussing. We realised when we incorporated our business, and we realised that we're joint business owners now. What shall our titles be? So we were like, oh, well, I could call myself joint director, or I could be emperor. Oh, yeah, I could be king. So still in discussions about that. But it's been great. It's just the two of us just been doing this stuff. It's been us this year. And we've been handling everything. And it's been like spinning loads of plates, you know, the trick spinning plates and then running to go and make the other one spin and stuff. It's kind of been like.
Do you think there's so from what I understand, from what I can see anyway? I mean, you're the face, you're in the videos, you're the talent. That's what, and then Roger, right? His job is the technical aspect.
Yes, that's right. So Roger's the director basically and the producer for it. So he is the guy who is responsible for all the cameras, which ones we picked, how the set looks. And then he gets the footage, he takes it to his computer and he edits it all together and creates the video. And he also maintains the website as well. So whilst I'm kind of generating all the stuff that becomes the content, he's the one who sort of works out how to make the content viewable for people.
Right.
So these are kind of it's similar circles to what we used to do at Games Workshop, except we've just sort of taken extra responsibilities on top of all this sort of stuff. So I also handle like the customer interaction, like if you send an email to the website, I'm the guy who reads it and I'll respond to it and handle that sort of stuff. I'll talk to people on social media and things. Roger's the one who will maintain the website, make sure everything's running and update it and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like an extra layer of responsibility on what we used to do.
Right.
Roger's very much an unsung hero and all this kind of stuff. It's quite exciting to see him. For me, anyway, it's exciting to see him getting a bit more exposure, and so people can actually understand how big a part he's played in things. Because it's always just been, you know, like me as the face of it all. But really, it's been a very close partnership that we've had all these years. So, yeah.
No, that's great. And so for those who are wondering where to find your content, I've included 3 links in this post right now. So whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, you'll see links to your website and then your YouTube channel and then your Facebook page. And so
you can see the use of me as the face of it with all the website name and everything. I really don't like the website address as my name. It feels so like, you know, like look at me, the website's named after. But like we realized that, I mean, before we actually started it, we had a whole host of different names of things we were thinking of for the website.
Right.
And Roger pointed out that people wanted to see me do stuff, and once we'd left Games Workshop, they might specifically be looking for my name. Yep. So we may as well use that as a title of it. So that's why we went with it.
That makes complete sense. Yeah. Because your name is a brand in the industry.
Yes.
Yeah. And so when people think, oh, Duncan, like, I mean, are there any other Duncans in the industry? Right? Like, I can't think of another Duncan in the industry. Like, you come to mind when it comes to that. If you were to search in Google, Duncan Warhammer painting, you come up and, like, it's all your stuff. So that actually makes perfect sense. Yeah. And, you know, the fact that you, as you said, like, you weren't 100% comfortable with that speaks to your character, which is great, which is why it absolutely should be your name. Because you're not like, oh, yes, it should definitely be my name. It's like, no, it's even more deserved. Like, it absolutely should be your name.
Oh, Oh, thank you. I mean, like, really, I find it always kind of awkward handling that sort of stuff because, like, all this stuff, like right at the start, none of it was ever about like, hey, look at me, everybody, I'm the guy. You know, it's always about the miniature is the star of each of these videos. You know, that's the key thing. That's what people want to see. So yeah, it's quite an odd experience using that as, but like I say, it's the brand. I mean, we talked to other companies after leaving Games Workshop. A whole host of these companies wanted to get in touch with us. And they would refer to me as the brand, which I find very like odd.
Right.
But I mean, it makes sense. I understand the logical part of me, like sort of like looking up on this from a higher point, kind of understands. But that's not what I want to be about ever. And I've been telling people all over the last few years, if this ever goes to my head, you kick my ass. And so if I ever do get cocky or arrogant about this, I expect people to bring me down to, earth very quickly, violently. So
do you have a Too Thin Coats shirt?
I do, yeah. Someone made one for me at Adepticon 1 or 2 years. I think it was Adepticon. Adepticon or Nova. One of the people who came along for my painting classes made a shirt and they got hashtag Too Thin Coats on it. I've still got it upstairs, and yeah, it's a nice green shirt. Lovely. Do
you sell your own Too Thin Coats shirts?
No, we don't do that yet.
You should totally.
I have seen a company selling them. I have seen a company selling them. Last time I went to Nova, there was a little stand selling all shirts with printed designs on, and one of them was hashtag Too Thin Coats. And I was like, that's weird.
You gotta sell it yourself, though.
I know. I mean, we do have shirts with the Painting Academy logo. We had when we started the site, loads of people were asking if they could get a shirt like what I wear in the videos, and we were like, okay. So we just opened a shop on eBay, not eBay, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Teespring. That's the one.
Teespring. Yeah.
It's the shirts there are a bit more expensive than what we want them to be because it's basically you've got to charge them like that to make sure that your cut of the money makes it worthwhile running the thing.
Yeah.
But we're hoping in the future to open our own web store. We can have similar things on there, but a bit cheaper and stuff. So that's the goal. That's the goal.
I would wear a shirt that said Too Thin Coats. Yeah, I would. Even if it came in white. I typically like darker colored shirts. I would hope that there would be multiple available, but yeah.
Well, we threw around ideas like I've got this coat for going out walking and stuff that's got like an inner fleece layer and you can unzip an outer waterproof layer, and we were thinking, could we just get that and then like have one saying first thin coat and then the other one second thin coat? We do that.
Yes, you should. 100% you should.
Would be. So one day I'm going to walk into doing some sort of painting class wearing this thing, and I'm just going to take off each layer one at a time and just see if anyone notices.
You know what? I was also thinking it would be funny if I got a shirt that said, "I am Duncan Rhodes."
Yes, you should have one of those.
Yes. Yeah, man. And for those of you who have seen the video, it makes perfect sense to you. And if you haven't seen our video, that makes no sense.
Go watch it. It's funny.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite collaborations. Like out of all the collaborations I've done over the years, it's one of the favorite ones. It was just a blast to do, and fun doing all this shenanigan-y stuff at Games Workshop. And I felt like I was like, I just like, it's almost like it was a school, and I felt like I was like skipping class and running the hallways, causing a muck. But they were somehow okay with it, but at the same time, didn't want me to go too far, but still okay with it. So it was overall a good feeling. So it was great.
Yeah. Well, all the people who at Games Workshop, they all just love the hobby, and they love when people love the hobby, and basically any form of wargaming, they're into it, they're interested, any sort of board gaming, all that kind of thing. So I think they were excited about the fact we were chatting to you guys because it was like sort of like sharing a mutual love of this sort of stuff. Yeah. So I think that's why they liked it. The people who work at Games Workshop, they're all just really into it. So it's I think they were just excited that kind of things were changing and they were becoming a bit more public facing. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I like having different personalities on the show, because for myself, like for you, in my eyes, you're the professional painter. When it comes to painting miniatures, you're the pinnacle of it because everyone knows you. They know your stuff. You're skilled at it. You have a ton of experience. And for me, I'm a casual gamer.
And so when it comes to like gaming or painting or lore or anything like that, I do a little bit of everything, but I do each thing casually, and I have fun while I'm doing it. When I think of painting, I think of you, and I think of that, right? And there's other areas of the hobby, and I think of like other names associated with it. So with you, I think of painting, and so I think that's neat because there's a ton of stuff that a lot of people, myself included, can learn from you, from that aspect of the hobby, because it's primarily the aspect of the hobby. With kind of conversations I've had with you in the past, I know that you're into the lore a bit, and that you also play the game, so you do a bunch of that. But in terms of like percentages of how much time you spend on the hobby and painting versus, playing the game versus lore, obviously most of it's painting and hobbying.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so let's say, okay, in my case, I'm your guinea pig, okay? So it's been a lot of years since I've painted miniatures, and I've just recently started to get back into it, and I started my Khorne Orcs army. I'm doing a conversion of Khorne and World Eaters and Orcs. And so, and I love it. It's great. It's like addictive. Once I get back into it, like and I love it so much. So what would be, first off, any advice or tips or anything you would say to me as I'm forging ahead with that endeavor?
I think so. If I was thinking of that from a lore point of view, I would take it that the orcs kind of see the Khorne stuff and think, yeah, that's really cool, but they don't really understand it. So I'd have them trying to imitate Chaos Marine units.
Okay.
So that's the kind of approach I'd have. So I'd be like, all right, so this orc unit is basically going to be the Khorne Berserkers. So what can I do to them to make them like that? And I'd have them with like sort of totems stuck on the head of like Khorne style helmets, things, like that. But I'd also want to put in, I think, demon engines, but they'd be like weird orky creatures, like maybe instead of the Hellbrood, it's just like a really big orc, and they've hammered the armor plates on it and tried to make it look like a Chaos Dreadnought thing,
Okay.
And like rather than the Power Scourge like whip like things, he's actually like got a whip or something like that, or it's like a big chain and it's like a whole bunch of them chained to a stump of his arm, and he just like flings them around, trying to copy it. That's how I'd view orcs doing that sort of thing, rather than being directly possessed by chaos themselves.
Right. Like they've orcified the chaos. So
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, they're trying to copy it. They don't quite understand the purpose of it. But then you could have it all kind of controlled by a guy who was actually possessed by a demon, and it's like, whatever, it works, because or maybe it's kind of almost a Skeletor like villain where it's like, you fools, that's not how you worship chaos, that kind of thing.
This is the way, and yet it's an orky way.
Yeah, exactly. I really like that sort of thing. I mean, yeah, you're right. When it comes to hobbying, my favorite thing is army building, really. I mean, when it comes to the painting stuff, I don't really think of myself as like high-end painting. So it's like, you're right. In the hobby, there's all these different aspects of it. There's so much to it. And it's always a key thing remembering when you're working in it or you're making something that there's no right or wrong way for anyone to do this. It's like what their personal hobby is, and everyone's got different realms that they tend to go in. For me, my favorite thing is to learn enough about the lore to then try and like represent it on the tabletop. And I usually find that my interest brings me up to an army of around about 1,000 points. And at that point, you get like 5 or 6 units of different sorts of things. I like that kind of combination. So like to take your Khorne Orc example there, I can imagine a demon prince being in charge of some big orc that's got some kind of demon weapon that's caused him to be possessed.
That's a cool idea.
I then would probably have a unit of knobs who are trying to be Khorne Berserkers and trying to emulate them. I think you could having the ones like the freebooters with the big guns, the flash kits. They probably, like, if they had them, they'd probably have to have them on the quiet because the Khorne demon wouldn't like it very much. But big war machines, big stomping things, like maybe you could have some kind of I know Forgewood did those big squig things. Maybe you could use like larger creatures in the shape of maybe I'm trying to think of some of the larger squigs that you've got. Maybe you could use that and have like bits hammered onto them as if they're like cornate creatures. Like maybe you could use squigs instead of flesh hounds or something.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's a good one too. I like that. Maybe put some armor, Khorne armor on the squigs.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, those are they're red as well. They've got big teeth like those dog things. Wicked. We'll have them. They haven't got those frills on the back yet, so let's just like staple good. There we go. They've got big frills on the back. That kind of thing.
What do you think about like having kind of like possessed, mutated, mechanical front legs on the squig, so they have 4 legs.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Big sort of like robot legs would be super cool. Yeah, or like you say, like mutated kind of legs would work really good.
Yeah.
They could have just been sort of bred like that, like 4-legged squigs. Why not? You know, they managed to figure out how to make them like slightly different. They all willed it to happen, and one day a squig was spawned and it has 4 legs. Wicked! It looks like, you know. Well, they could be demon possessed themselves. You know, you could have them like they could be the core squig, but you could get like spare flesh-bound legs and have them like, you know, green stuff them on, so they're kind of splitting out of them or something.
Mm-hmm.
What would be cool is if you could make a unit of possessed orcs who are actually possessed by chaos demons and have all weird sort of splitting open mouths and stuff, and they're actually horrifying. But all the orcs just look at them and go, "They're awesome, they're cool. I wish I could be like them." But they have no idea why they're doing that.
That's a cool idea. I like that, because then it's not just like another orc telling them to worship Khorne. It's like they are truly possessed by chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And you could look at like bigger monsters, maybe bigger demons, or I mean, perhaps could you? Well, actually, no, Nurgle's going off track a bit. But you know, like in some of the Nurgle demons, they got their mouths splitting open. I could just see an orc with his belly erupting open with a big mouth, big like fangs. You know.
Yep.
Just see that sort of really creepy looking stuff. That'd be cool.
So for the army so far, what I've done is I've converted a Land Raider into a Bonebreaker. Bonebreaker? Yeah. It's called a Bonebreaker, right? Not the battle wagon, but the Bonebreaker variant of it.
This one with the big roller on the front.
Big roller, yeah. And so I said that I confused the name in my mind because I combined the names and I made up a new name, and I call it the Landbreaker. Mm-hmm. So, which makes sense, right? Nice. And then
yeah, that does make sense.
And then I made a Hellbrute, and so what I did is I ripped off one of the arms and I put 3 grots, and they're shooting their pistols, and I attach the weapons that a Wrathmonger uses, and so there's like whipping hammers with chains. So that's the Power Scourge, right, on the one side.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the other side, I have a bunch of Daka with guns just strapped as the other.
Yeah, tons of guns. Yeah,
tons of guns, and then I have Dead Tau, of course, on the base of it.
I like your choice. Very good. Yeah, if you're gonna have anything dead in there, it'll be Tau.
Yeah, and the side it's a platform. There's a little platform on the side, so the grots can actually step on it. And the gun arm is another grot, like manning the guns with another little platform. So that's the Hellbrute.
That sounds really fun.
And the next thing that I'm working on is the grots and cultists, because I figured that's like the closest equivalent. And so it's going to be a combination of some grots are going to be piggybacking on other grots. So that'll count as like one cultist or one grot, I guess. And some will be a single grot, but like in cultist clothing. And then some will be cultist-sized grots with a grot head. So it's all going to be mixed-matched of like cultist grots.
So he's still sort of like hiding and pretending to be these cultists. He's seen the cool chaos cultists and like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, yeah, because you got to have units of grots and cultists, so I can play them both ways. I can play in world eaters or orcs.
Yeah. What I did see once was someone got plague bearers and gave them orc heads and kind of like orc weapons that they were sort of dragging along behind them like zombies.
Nice.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be like some creepy emaciated like cannon fodder thing, especially if you paint them in like more fleshy colours rather than the normal greens. Like if you bring it more into like warmish tones, they look really creepy and weird.
Yeah.
That would be something else.
There's so many good reasons to orcify things.
Well, I'm it's quite funny you're doing orcs, but it's based on Khorne. Remember, Khorne was always like your thing.
Yeah, I just I don't know what it is, but I just it's like the Khorne.
Suit of armor with the suit of V51 power armor, is it from Fallout?
Yeah.
But it's actually it's weird that like what are the odds this week? Just yesterday, we did a painting video. We filmed one, which was for a Khorne Berserker. So it's like, what are the odds that should be the same week that we're chatting about things. But that was kind of curious, and I realised
there's no accidents.
No, there's no accidents. But I'll tell you what, actually doing this video, often when you do the painting video, when you finish the thing, it's very much a job. So you're done, you're like, yeah, that model's really cool, but now I'm ready to move on to the next thing. And you end up like having a taste of all sorts of stuff. Every now and then you hit something that you're like, oh, actually, I really enjoyed doing that. And this Khorne Berserker, I was like, actually, yeah, I really quite enjoyed doing that. Because building them, I actually ended up building them on my last few days working at Games Workshop, and it's the modern Chaos Space Marine with some of the Forge World bits on it.
Yeah.
And they just look super cool like that. I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
I
some
agree.
more of those. That'd be pretty sweet.
So, so what? That's fantastic solution to the old Berserker problem. I I like going the Blood Warrior route and
Hmm.
using that armor. Do,
Hmm.
do you know anything down the pipeline, which I'm sure you can't say even if you did know, but in terms of new Berserkers and the
Oh
possibility?
no, no idea, no idea. But these things, like we've kind of reached the point now where I would have typically seen things, anything 6 months to a year before it came out in the various jobs I was doing, but I wouldn't really be involved in them
Right.
until maybe 3 months before they came out.
Right.
So the Slanesh stuff they've been teasing now, for example, that was beyond the barrier of what I'd see stuff. Last year I was aware of things like the Mega Gargant and the Lumineth and all that sort of stuff being on the way. But it's quite nice now to be surprised about stuff again.
Yeah.
It was always a bit of a double-edged sword knowing about what was coming out because you get excited about it, but you couldn't do anything about it. So like I saw the Imperial Knights a full year were involved in that project and doing the painting schemes on them full year before they came out. And I was like, these are amazing. But I've got to leave them there for a year, and I can't talk to anyone about it. And
How does
I
that?
don't want to paint them. I want to paint them.
How did that? I mean, like, how did that feel having to hold on to that those
Kind of,
constantly? It's really constant. It was at the time, right? It's like constant new stuff that you can't talk about. So how was that?
yeah. It's you kind of get used to it after a while. You realize that you may as well not know about it because there's nothing you can do about it. So
Right.
it loses its luster after a bit.
Yeah.
I was curious if I'd miss it after leaving, but I haven't really. It's quite exciting to see because I do know the people in the in communities marketing department. There's always lots of effort putting into the reveals and the announcements, and it was always kind of a shame when something got leaked because the build-up excitement's sort of path that they created would suddenly be kind of thrown to the side, and it's like, quick, just do everything straight away. So
Yeah.
it's quite fun seeing them, tease things and lead into them. But yeah, I just ended up kind of becoming a bit passive about it. So like I'd see the thing. Like I remember for ages I was wanting to do a Chaos Space Marine army, and I was like thinking of what I could do, and I actually converted the Khorne Berserker using the like how you're describing, using bits of Blood Warrior and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, maybe I could do regular Chaos Space Marines like this because I'd like to do undivided troops and stuff. And then I saw the new ones in the cabinet in the camera room, and I was like, oh man, no point in me converting those now, is there? They'll wait a year for them to come out and just do them. So yeah, it does. But also at the same time, what you can find is that you can end up, if you're really into something and you really want to paint some stuff, the company will sometimes give you some of these things early, so you can paint them as part of the promotion of when the product comes out. So you might get these things like 2 months before they come out, and you paint them and you're dead excited about them. But by the time the actual release is happening, you're then looking at what the next exciting thing is. And so the big release happens, and you're sort of like, yeah, those Chaos Space Marines were great, but I'm actually interested in the next thing.
Yeah.
So, it's coming out. That was part of the reason why their workshop was always very quiet about what was coming out next, because, they want to have the new product that everyone's put this work into. They want it to have its day in the sun. And if everyone's too busy looking at what the next thing is, then it's kind of a shame. So, yeah, it was a funny thing.
So okay, so some rapid fire questions in terms of your channel and your process. Yeah. So how do you determine your release of videos? Is it on a schedule? Do you do one a week, one every two, one a month, or is it just as you make them?
We make anywhere between 3 and 1 videos every week. It depends on the complexity of the model, but we make sure that every week there's new content coming out. Mm-hmm. We also schedule it so that every 2 weeks we put a new painting video on our YouTube channel. So typically, for every 1 video you see on our YouTube channel, there'll be 3 more on the website of similar or greater length. And some of these videos are quite long. Some of them go up to near an hour long for big complex models like the Silent King or a Keeper of Secrets or something like that.
Right.
But the choice about what to do is extremely difficult because it's hard enough just doing Games Workshop stuff. But when you open it up to everything, there's so many cool things out there. And suddenly you're like, right, so this month we've got in our schedule enough for 8 videos. We know one of them's going to be a big video. That's probably going to be a big Warhammer kit because those are the most popular things. How do we do the rest? Well, we need to do a World War II thing. We need to do something else historical. We need to do something for, I don't know, Modifius has got a new Fallout thing coming out, so we want to do something for that. So it becomes quite tricky trying to balance it. But we know that Warhammer things are the most popular, so we try and put like one of those in every week and schedule it like that. But yeah, we do schedule it, and we do try and balance the release of content, so there's a bit of something for everyone each month.
So how do you determine what you choose in terms of the painting tutorials. Do you do it by what you want? Do you do it by popularity? Do you do a combination of both? Like, how do you choose that?
So I certainly do have my own personal whims of what I'd like to do, but we can't ever fall into the trap of just doing what we want to do. It's got to be what people want to see and what they're struggling painting and what they want to, be unlocked. So we have a forum on the website where we encourage members to post what they'd like us to do and ideas and things like that. And they can also use this contact form on the website where they can email us directly, and I read the emails. We make lists of what people want to see. But generally, it'll be things like core stuff that everyone's going to want to know how to paint, and popular things, and then like if we get interesting subjects suggested to us, we'll go towards those two. So for Warhammer, for example, the obvious thing is we're going to be doing some Space Marines and Necrons because that's what the biggest thing is at the moment for the core sets. With Age of Sigmar, we haven't done any Stormcast yet, but we'd be looking, or even the Nighthaunt, but then we did loads and loads of that at Games Workshop. So, whenever Age of Sigmar gets a new box set, and I'm sure it will, we'll look at whatever's in that new set and we'll do some more content based around that. But we're also trying to work our way through all the major factions. So we're trying to do like a Tyranid, an Orc, a Eldar, and kind of cover everything and then go into the more specialist troops. So The goal is to make a comprehensive library of everything. Now, when it comes to other game systems and other wargaming eras, we try and think of what's going to be popular and what would be a good thing to crack. So, for example, with historical, we went, okay, so in England, loads of people like doing Napoleonics. So we'll do a British soldier and a French soldier. So it's all based around Battle of Waterloo. Then we thought, all right, so what else is popular in historical? Well, ancients are Roman legionary, which you can see on our YouTube channel, and we've done a barbarian on the website as well, so a Gaul warrior to fight him. And then we kind of want to continue like that with historicals, so it'll be something like a Greek and a Persian, for example. And for the other games, again, it's kind of core stuff. So with Modiphius's things for their Elder Scrolls game, we've been doing things like Stormcloak Warriors, the Dragonborn, we're going to do Imperial Legion soldiers, that sort of thing. Right. So it's kind of the core stuff, but we do put in more unusual things at the same time.
So when you make your videos, do you script what you say?
Yes. Well, not specifically what I say. I do script, and what I do is I write the order in which I'm going to do things. And it used to be very verbose back at Games Workshop when I started this. It used to almost be word for word. But Roger ground that habit out of me so that what I was saying was natural, and he's done a lot of training with me so I can just present it and effectively make it up as I go, what I say. I just know that in this stage, I want to use this colour on this palette for this specific reason. This is a thing to watch out for. This is how you avoid a mistake there. And so my script will have just said, I don't know, Avalan Sunset. But I'll know from having done my testing, my practice, and from just experience, I guess, that in this step, I also need to mention these things. So the script really just looks like a list of paints, just colours of what I'm going to use and any little extra bits of detail. But yeah, they're very short and very concise these days.
So there's certainly a formula to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, it's swapped out with different words, but it services the same things, I guess the same points across.
Kind of, yeah. And it varies from model to model, and there'll be specific things. And I mean, with the historicals, it can be like a good, because getting into something like that is quite an intimidating thing because people don't want to paint something the wrong color or anything like that. So it's a good opportunity to say things like, all right, if you're going to be painting this Roman soldier, we're going to do his tunic red, which is the common thing people see. But the fact is that no one really knows if they wore red or not. So you can use any color you want here, but the same sort of thing applies. And the most common things that people tend to accept will be reds, khakis, whites, that sort of thing. So it's a good opportunity to introduce things like that and suggestions and ideas. So in the Khorne Berserker one, again, we paint basically the armor Khorne red. Makes sense, right? But we're like, there's no hard and fast color, so any red you want, whatever you want to do to make it match your army, you just go for that red. But this is how you apply it, and this is what you do. So it's Roger's training really has got me to this point where we kind of understand that everything I say has to be important information.
Right.
So it's
concise.
It's not that we never start a video going, hey everybody, this weekend I did this thing and it made me think about this and that led to this and this and this and that. And so in the end I decided, okay, cool, what we'll do is paint a Chaos Space Marine. It's like, we're going to show you how to paint a Chaos Space Marine and we're going to show you everything that you need to know about it. And then it's like, right, go. What's the first thing? What's the second thing? What's the third thing? And all the way it's supposed to be like as crammed, as dense in information as we can get it.
Right.
So yeah, that's the concept. And if I start rambling like I'm doing now. Roger will clip me around the ear on the right hand side of my head so you can't see the bruise.
It's actually interesting you should say that, because about the concept of making things concise and the different styles, because there are other miniature painters who are making tutorials who have the opposite style of the ramble. And there's actually, if I were to categorize it, there'd be three. There'd be your style, which is the clean and concise, which is very much like your painting. It's funny. That's your style. It's information. It's chock full of good, dense information. And then you have the people that ramble, and it's long, kind of raw, uncut. And then you have the people that also ramble, but it's not a ramble. It is a story, because it's edited in such a way where you're following a story as they're painting the miniature, and they just happen to be painting a miniature at the same time as they're telling the story. And so I think that depending on your style, that works for you. Like, your style works for you. You guys have honed in on this the certain thing, and it's working very well for you guys. And it's comfortable. My guess is that it feels good and natural, and it's comfortable, and it's within your skill set to make that really work for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you kind of, you notice after a while you get trends, especially on YouTube. And YouTube is very much the stuff that does really well on it is things that are kind of entertainment in a way.
Yeah,
it seems to be the direction it's going. So you can certainly see a lot of the bigger channels, especially. They won't always just do a guide on, like, this is how you paint this model. It'll usually have some other playful element to it, and it's like at least to an entertaining thing. But I don't know, stuck in our ways. I don't know how you describe it, but we kind of we know that people find the content we do to be really nourishing.
Yeah.
So that's why we sort of stick to our particular format. But everyone's got their own likes and their own preferences and things. So it's not to say that the way we do it is right or anything. It's just what we found works for us. So yeah, everyone kind of finds their own way. And
I like that. I think they're actually that all the styles are needed because they contrast each other so well. And if you're watching the longer form, for example, and you're like, you know what, I want to watch one that's more concise because I want to get the information quickly, and I don't want to have to wait a long time for it, and I'll know, and it's very clear instruction. Okay, I'll watch Duncan's video. And I think it's the same thing with battle reports, because there are battle reports where they show every dice roll. There are battle reports where they show turn recaps. There's battle reports that are narrative and you follow a story. There's battle reports that are shorter, 30 minutes long, and longer, live, 4 hours long. There's many different types, and depending on your style, depending on what you want to do and what you're doing as you're watching it, you could be painting and listening to them in the background, or you just want to sit there and watch the whole thing and be entertained by the whole thing and watch every second of it. And so I like that there is a variety of different types of content within like you have the painting genre. There are many different types of painting type videos within your genre, and I think that's super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you get that with a lot of stuff. Everyone's got their own preferences of how they like things. Just like in the hobby in general, people like their own preferences of how they do stuff, and what kind of games they play, and what they collect. Same when you consume content. Because I know what you mean. I like. Well, I'd say I listen to the battle report rather than watch it, because I'll kind of like have it playing whilst I'm painting.
Yep.
And usually it'll be a game based around what I'm doing, and it'll partially to help understand the game if it's a new thing I've not played before.
Yep.
Other times it's because I just simply like the people who are doing it, and I just find it, nice, and it feels like they're there with you, and you just sort of sharing some time together.
Like a fly on the
same
wall.
With podcasts. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of podcasts that I find are just really nice, like especially ones where people are like playing Dungeons and Dragons, and you follow the story of things, and sort of you end up. If anyone's ever played a role play game, you'll understand that you get these situations happening where it's like you had to be there because it's so funny to the story and the experience that you're sharing. When you're listening to a podcast of people playing these games, you get the same sort of feelings. That's always a really good thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you feel immersed, kind of like, you're right. Like you feel like you're right there with them.
And especially in the current times, if there's something that you're really interested in, but you can't meet anyone to play these games, and you sort of just doing the thing on your own, you can end up running out of steam a bit for it. So I find at the moment that sort of content's especially great, because it makes you feel more enthused about what you're doing. And then once everything goes back to normal and you've got your army all painted because you stayed enthused about it, you then go meet up with people and play those games.
All right, so let's play a short game. Let's do. A lot of people are asking for podcast recommendations. And
yeah.
And so I'll say one, and then you'll say two, and then I'll say one, and then you say two.
Oh, crikey, you're going to make me like I won't be able to think of one. From the pressure.
And I guess
I
they
haven't got
could
my
be
eyes
anything.
on that. I don't have the list of ones I'm subscribed to. Hang on a minute, maybe I can look at my phone.
You know, I'll start it off with independent characters. I think they're great.
Oh yeah, independent characters. They are lovely. Those guys, they're really nice. I met up with some of those guys and chatted with them at Adepticon. They were a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Oh, here we go. All right. I tend to subscribe to just a few, which I really enjoy. But yeah. Okay. So is it my turn now?
Yes, your turn.
Okay. Okay. So the first one I'd recommend is called On the Table Gaming, who's run by a fellow called Chase. And this started out for the A Song of Ice and Fire miniatures game by Cool Mini or not. And he was in the Kickstarter, and he just got excited, so he's made this podcast. And it's still going. It's been going for years. And he is just great because he's one of those guys who's just really enthusiastic about it and just loves it. And so it just makes you feel really happy just listening to him talking about the latest news and these things. And he talks about other games. He's done Star Wars Legion in there. He's done some historicals. He's done a couple of others. Done Marvel Crisis Protocol. Ice and Fire is kind of the core running theme. But yeah, that's one I really like. I listen to that one every week, so that's great. So I hope Chase listens to this. Hello, Chase. I would say the next one is one that's a real play of Call of Cthulhu, and it's called How We Roll. So they've been doing this for a number of years. They've got a few little one-off adventures in their early stuff, and then they start going into longer campaigns. And they've actually got some of the people playing their game who write the Call of Cthulhu rules, and they're just really, really funny, like really funny. So there's a long campaign called The Masks of Nyarlathotep, who's one of the Cthulhu elder gods, and they play kind of the prequel to the main campaign. And oh my god, it's one of the funniest things I've ever listened to as this campaign goes off the rails. But the guy who's running the game is the guy who also was involved in writing that adventure, so he knows it inside out, so he's able to react. But it ends up with the characters like starting to form a cult and all this kind of stuff. It's so funny. Definitely recommend that one. That's How We Roll.
How We Roll, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so life after the cover save. If you like the bantery fun aspect of the tabletop, specifically 40K hobby, that's a fun one to listen to. Blake and Ed, they're fun guys. I've had the privilege of being on their show once or twice, a couple times I think, and they were on the show once too. So, all right, your turn, and then we'll end after your turn.
Okie dokie. So I've just been checking some of my list on here. It's tough picking favourites out, really. All right. So so I'd like to call out another Cthulhu gameplay one. This one's called Tomes and Tentacles. This is by a group called Encounter Roleplay, and again, it's like one of those ones where you sort of get swept away with the story and you get involved in it. But the games master is oh god, I can't remember his name. He's one of the guys that writes novels for 40K. He wrote some of the Horus Heresy ones. Ben Counter, I believe it's Ben Counter. But yeah, he's the games master for it, and it's about a theatre troupe, like a play cast, who basically get a play called The King in Yellow, which again is one of the elder deities from Cthulhu. And they start reading this play, and then weird stuff happens, and it's about them trying to survive the weird stuff happening. And again, it's one of those things where all the players play their characters so well that you just really get into the story. So it's about I think it's about 24 episodes of about an hour each, so it will last you for quite a while listening to it. But that one is very, very funny. I definitely recommend that. I would say, I suppose I ought to pick one that does Warhammer and stuff, shouldn't I? See, I tend to listen to ones that tell stories and things. So how about I suggest...
The story ones are cool because you know there's a lot of thought and deliberate kind of production that goes into those. A lot of prep work, a lot of research and work that goes into those ones.
Yeah. I guess I suppose to throw out Critical Role, which is like I guess people know about. That one's been going for years and years, and again, it's like super high quality Dungeons and Dragons. I would say Garage Hammer, I suppose. Now this is one that I go back to every now and then for their talk about the end times for Warhammer Fantasy, because what they've got is a selection of podcasts that go really in detail about the storyline of that stuff, and they kind of read through the books, and they have sort of radio plays of certain segments of the story where the people who do the podcast read out the characters and sort of like put effects and things on it. So that's really cool. But yeah, they go into the story and sort of the tale of it and analyze what the characters are doing and things. And I mean, on one hand, it's quite sad as you go through it and they realize that the end of the world is actually going to happen. Because at the start, they think that everything's going to turn out all right. And then they realize that, no, the world is going to end. So it's a bit like, when they realize that. But they do such a good job of it. And you can see they're so passionate for it that that's one that I like to go back to every now and then just to sort of enjoy that. That said, when Age of Sigmar started, they really dived into that as well and followed it through its evolution to what it is now. So, yeah, that's a nice one to listen to as well.
So, okay. So we're going to change gears a little bit and talk to you, Duncan, about non-wargaming stuff for a moment, just to kind of dive into the mind of Duncan. So what's your favorite movie?
Oh, man. Oh, that's tough. Can I only say one?
Okay. Yes, you can only choose one. What would be the movie?
All right. Waterloo with Rod Steiger.
Okay.
It's a bit of a niche one, but it's about the Battle of Waterloo, funnily enough. And Rod Steiger plays Napoleon. I forget the name of the fellow who plays Wellington, but it's great. It's just great. If you when you watch it, you got to remember it was made in the 60s or 70s, so this is during the Cold War, right?
Yeah.
And they basically got the Russian army to play the part of all the soldiers, and they make uniforms for everybody. And I kid you not, apparently when this movie was being filmed and all the actors were in place, drilled and trained to maneuver in Napoleonic formations, apparently it was the 6th largest army on Earth in one place at one time. That's how many extras there. There's a shot where Napoleon's before the day of battle, and the French army is marching towards the actual deployment where they're, when the hill where they're starting on, and Napoleon's sort of there. Basically, he's not feeling well. He's got his head in his hands, and all these troops marching past him are all in like what's very actually close to being the correct uniforms for it. Like there's a few corners cut, obviously, but they all look the part. And there's so many of them. There's thousands of extras all marching in formation. It's incredible. So yeah, that's a great film, and I definitely recommend it.
That's I love that because they can't fake it back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like those are real extras and all those uniforms, it's all real.
Yeah. It's cheesy. It's really cheesy for the time. Like, the acting's a bit over the top and stuff, and there's like there's some great bits in it. But it's so good. If you want to watch a historical military war movie, it's just brilliant for the sheer spectacle of it. If you want to get a feel of how big these battles were, then it's about the closest thing I've ever seen to doing that.
So for those of you who have just come on to the podcast, the live stream of Shrine of Chaos with us today, you are currently watching it live. Duncan Rhodes is my guest. We're currently talking about Duncan's favorite movie, Waterloo. Yeah, he recommends. Mm-hmm. And so if you were to choose a couple more, what would you recommend for movie watching?
Oh, so movies who kind of like formed my my way in life, I guess. So I would say the original Star Wars trilogy for me. When I got introduced to those, that completely swept me into science fiction. I think my favourite out of the three is probably Return of the Jedi, which might be a bit controversial, but it's because I like seeing the realisation of Luke becoming the hero character.
Yeah.
And you're seeing all the heroes come together and being greater than some of their parts when they're working together. So that's why I like that one. I really like Starship Troopers as well, from '97. I watched that when I was a bit too young to watch it. Weirdly, awesome. We just got a super cheap deal last minute holiday to Jamaica, and we turned up. We were jet lagged. I couldn't sleep, so I turned on the TV in my hotel room, and it was Starship Troopers. No idea what it was, but I was into Warhammer at the time, and I was like, "This is like God vs. Tyranids. This is amazing." So yeah, that's a favourite of mine. Let me think. What else? Independence Day. I really like Independence Day. Very cheesy action film, super over the top, but Will Smith's hilarious in it. And it's got my favourite film extra ever. The one guy during the president's speech at the end who does the most dramatic salute ever. He's brilliant. So, yeah, those are things that jump out off the top of my head. Gettysburg. Gettysburg's a great film, for again another historical war film. That's really fun. I like that they basically just got loads of historical reenactors to all turn up to do their part, and you can see they just love it. So yeah, that's a good one.
So okay, if you were to all of a sudden remove miniature wargaming from your life and painting and all aspects of it, what would Duncan be doing?
How would my life have turned out? I don't know, because it's kind of like it's become such a part of My everyday life, I guess. It's kind of hard to imagine being without it. I mean, I suppose if I couldn't do that and had to do something else, um, I'd probably spend more time doing a reenactment, because I started doing historical reenactment a few years ago. I'd probably be more into that. I don't know. I'm a very creative person, really. I just like making stuff. So, like, my favorite part of the hobby is making these armies and painting them and bringing them to life. So I'd probably be, doing some sort of building. I don't know, maybe Lego. Yeah, that's right. So a small hobby of mine is I find people who make Lego models of things that look incredibly realistic. I find this absolutely mind blowing.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever saw at Adepticon. There's like a shopping mall nearby, or at least where it was. And in there was a shop called Brickmania, which made military things, but Lego kits. So they'd buy in the Lego, they'd rebox it, and then sell it as kits. So you'd buy things like Sherman tanks or Panzer IVs and things like that. And it's expensive stuff, but the models look so realistic. And like you see it, and it's like, oh, that's a cool tank. And then that's Lego bricks. And I find that it's like totally absorbing. So I sort of follow people who make these kind of Lego models online. And anyway, I saw this year Lego have tried to buy into that, and they've made a realistic Lego train. So I might have accidentally gone and bought it, and it arrived today, and it's just over there. So I'd probably be building stuff like that. Really nerdy stuff, really childish stuff. That's what I'd be doing.
So, okay, so here's a question from Miso82. What's it like being on the inside of GW compared to watching it from the outside? And were you there for the big changeover when the new CEO took over?
Yes. I was there when that sort of stuff happened. Cool. So being on the inside's quite weird. I mean, Games Workshop's a very close community. So when you start there, you very quickly make friends because everybody loves the hobby in some way or another. So there's like a common thing amongst almost everybody. I suppose you kind of see, you get a hint of the real, why they're doing certain things. So in my opinion, I think Primaris Marines have come along because they kind of thought, well, what could we do to update Space Marines? Let's make them look awesome. Yeah, now they look awesome. I imagine that's probably the kernel of it, because it kind of comes down to what's going to be the coolest experience for people, what's going to look the most awesome. So are there reasons why we should not make things awesome? What can we do about that? There's kind of a thing about that. It's about trying to make as cool a thing as possible, I think, and everyone's really passionate about that. I think it's funny as well watching rumors. So going back to earlier when we're talking about knowing what's going to come out. It's quite funny because you sometimes see people make stuff up. I've seen I remember someone said they'd seen the new Lord of the Rings box set and it had new Warriors of Minas Tirith against new Orcs. And we were like, no, there isn't. This guy's just literally made it up. And people in this forum were discussing it in detail and arguing about it and stuff. And you're like, oh man, if only you knew. It is really exciting seeing something that's coming out that people are going to love and you can't wait for them to see it. So that was the case with the second edition of Age of Sigmar, seeing the new look in Stormcast and knowing they look cooler than the other ones. They've got these extra robes. They feel more like a Warhammer-y thing. It's going to be cool when people see that. So it is really cool doing that. I remember that when Titanicus was being developed and seeing how cool the Warlord Titan model was. Mm-hmm. That was something that I was really excited to see what the reaction of the community was going to be. It's quite strange. Like I was saying earlier, after a while, you sort of take it for granted seeing things as they're being developed and having these contacts. And you do kind of end up just chatting to people who, when I was growing up, I'd read in White Dwarfs names like Ali Morrison and Dave Andrews and people like that. And you kind of think you meet them and at first you're like, oh my God, it's Dave Andrews. And then you get talking to him and realize he's a little bit shy and he's actually just a really nice dude. And you suddenly realize these people are people too. And the things that the company does, it does for reasons, and usually it's because it wants to make something cool. So it's a shame when you see that get misinterpreted. I was extremely lucky to get the experience that I've had and to meet the people that I have and to have made the friends that I have. I was very lucky to get there. It's an odd place. I imagine working at places like, I don't know, things like Disney or probably Lego or things like that are kind of similar. Like this passion that you have suddenly becomes your job. And it does change things a little bit. And I mean, some people don't always adapt very well to it. Like, you've always got to remember it is a job and there is an objective to it. But being able to do something that you love is a really special thing, and not everyone gets the opportunity for it. So, yeah. So what I would say about working at Games Workshop is working in the retail chain is really difficult. And I always had a lot of respect for staff members working in Games Workshop stores. Back when I did that, it was like you'd have multiple people in a store. And I remember working days when it was just me working in the shop. I always found that was really difficult and very tiring. These days, you get a lot of stores that only have one person running it, and they're responsible for everything. So I have a huge amount of respect to people who do that, because it's not easy. It's a bit thankless.
No sick days.
Yeah, no sick days. Well, for a lot of people, they're the first people they meet when they get into the hobby, and that first interaction they have with them forms so much of their future journey in doing this sort of stuff. And even if they're going to stay in it or not, and they might, like, you never know when this like new person who comes into the shop, it might be an 11-year-old kid who's really shy and introverted and stuff. You never know what all this might mean to them as they grow up. They might meet all these, like take me for example. Like my whole life course has chartered because I happened to see a picture of a Space Marine and then had a good experience when I first went into a Games Workshop. I mean, the guy who sold me my first Space Marines became the guy who hired me a number of years later. And I actually met up with him at one point last year, and we just had a meeting together, had some lunch together. It was just really nice to catch up and things. So, for them being the first encounter for these people, it can have these ramifications that you just have no idea of. So yeah, it's quite a special, privileged position, really. So yeah, 20 staff members listening, thank you for doing what you do, I guess.
When you first started, when you were first on doing painting tutorials on GW, were there a bunch of candidates, and you beat them?
Yeah, well, so I was there for the test footage of like the idea of what we're going to do, because we did the DVD, and I only did the DVD because my schedule was a bit freer than everyone else, and my fingernails looked a bit nicer than everyone else's, so my hands looked better on camera. But like I was naturally into it because I wanted to teach these skills to people, and it's just like a great format to do that. I certainly found that part more interesting than just painting miniatures for White Dwarf or whatever.
Right.
But Roger and I got on really well. So when he wanted to develop the idea to the format of what you see more like when we started doing it for Games Workshop, like that was all sort of felt out over time. He had a rough idea, and it didn't quite look like that. It kind of evolved until the actual first video came out. But he had me help him do it for the test footage to prove the concept, because the two of us got on so well and I understood what he wanted. I mean, the video he made was rubbish. It was building a Riptide. It's a full video of how to build a Riptide battlesuit from start to finish. It's about like an hour and a half long. It's so boring. But it proved the idea of it. So then when the job was offered and the job advert went up, Roger did certainly come down to me super excited and was like, I think you and I could do something really good here. Please go for it. And I was super scared because I had no idea if it would work. And, at the time, certainly people weren't like that thrilled about the idea of it being an actual job that would last. And
really,
people didn't like Games Workshop very much then, and I'd be the only face on it. So, I might suddenly get a load of hate. But I believed in the concept of what we were trying to do of teaching people this stuff. But yeah, a load of people did apply for the job. And I do remember at the time that people were saying to me I was guaranteed to get it. So I don't even have to, try. But that's never the case. Someone better certainly can come along. There's always someone better at what you're doing. So I worked at it. I practiced. I would practice, like as I was cooking dinner, I'd narrate what I was doing to explain why I was doing it. And all
awesome.
That kind of stuff. So yeah, there were other people who applied. I think there were about 6 applicants at that time, because it was such a niche job at that point. And later on, at other times when we were looking to recruit more people, there'd be more applicants. But yeah, initially there was about 6 people, and there were some strong contenders there too.
It's. I love hearing that. That's super cool. I like the chemistry between you and Roger. Just hit it off, and you found this cool vision that you kind of had together. And what you said made me think about something. You said that there are better people out there. There's always better people, but there is no better Duncan out there than Duncan. And so, no one can be you but you. And because you are you, and you are who you are now, you can't be replaced, because there is no better Duncan. There is no better you, and I think that's really interesting. So that just goes to show that, and this isn't the case in your case, because you're a fantastic painter. But if a person who isn't good at painting or doing something, but they somehow get they rise in popularity doing what they do, and they kind of get this chemistry with an audience. They don't necessarily have to be the best at what they do. They just need to connect well with an audience. And I mean, you're fortunate in that you have both. Other people, they have just one. Some people are fantastic painters, but they don't connect well with an audience, and so it's
I think what's made it work is because everything that we're doing is focused around actually trying to teach you the thing. It's never about, like I was saying earlier, it's never about like me and what I'm doing. Like I'm the conduit to learn the skills is firmly how I think of it as. I think, well, from what I've gathered, people pick up on that, and I think so. It's quite important. But I'd hate it to be just like, oh, it's all about Duncan. What's he done today? It feels a bit weird when it gets to that point for me.
You know what's funny? Okay, so I'm looking at the comments, and I agree with the comments. The comments are, Duncan is the best, and this
you guys.
this is the reason why. I think it's because if there was let's say there was two models, okay, and then it's here's this video, you could watch it. It's a model painted by, it's a Corn Berserker painted by Duncan, or it's a Corn Berserker painted by somebody else, and this someone else is Slayer Sword winner, Golden Demon winner, whatever winner, Crystal Blush winner, and then Duncan, which is you, which I think, I don't know if you've won awards like that.
No, I don't really enter competitions.
Don't enter competitions. See, that's interesting. I would watch the Duncan one because I know Duncan, and I feel like Duncan could teach me better, and I just want to watch a Duncan video as opposed to that. That's why Duncan is better, and that's why Duncan's the best.
I don't know what to say. Oh, shucks, I guess. I'm glad people do. It's starting the business was super scary because we had no idea how many people were going to sign up. We knew we needed a certain amount to be able to break even, and I certainly had enough savings to allow me to keep going for quite a while. Roger has got more commitments, like he's got kids to look after and things, so he couldn't go the same length of time. So we had a time limit for which we had to become profitable.
Right.
So it was
Trial
really
period.
Scary. Especially day one when we turned it on, we had no idea if people were going to want to support us, but people do. And we've got lots of wonderful members, and it's great talking to them. We just really like making cool content for them, and we've got some like really cool things that like I can't talk about them right now because I'd get killed. But we're working on some really exciting stuff, and man, I can't wait to I think at Games Workshop, because it's like a very much like a self-contained environment, because Games Workshop makes everything that you need for the hobby. Right. I didn't necessarily think of like myself further out in the industry, in the wargaming industry as a whole. So it was certainly a surprise to have like the Christmas Eve when it got out that I was leaving, and so I said on Twitter, yeah, I am leaving. I suddenly started having these people like getting in touch who I never would have expected quite how much they were keen to follow what I was doing. It was a real surprise. So yeah, it's an odd thing. I'm just really thankful for it. Like I can carry on doing what I love doing and live, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's kind of that's the best of all worlds, to be doing something that you love, and people are enjoying it.
And it's like for Roger as well. He's so happy because like he's been wanting to like he wants to buy a house. He wants to be able to get a full house for his family and do all that sort of good stuff. And he's now getting to the point where he's able to be generating the savings to be able to do this sort of thing. So it's like it's working out. Like, are we dreaming? We can actually like do this, and it's cool, and like we're in control of our own destiny. And it's like, all right, what shall we do tomorrow? Well, we know that the customers want to see all this sort of stuff, so how are we going to do it? And it's a great position to be in. We have days where it's like, oh, so we need to go and do this thing. All right, we're going to drive to Birmingham to go and buy the gear and stuff, and it's like it's us doing it because we want to do it and we need the stuff, and we like you realize we're doing it because we know what we're doing. Yeah. And it's like it's a real liberating feeling for that. I certainly would recommend to anyone who's able to have a go at like doing their own thing and starting their own business. I mean, it's lots of difficult times for it, but like thank God it's working for us now. But anyone who wants to try it, definitely try it, because if it works and you can become self-employed and do your own thing, man, it's so good. It feels so good about forging your own way in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, 100%.
Mm.
So Jeremy Witt is right. He is so. Speaking of you, this is what he says. He's so humble. He's so humble. We don't deserve Duncan. He is pure and must be protected at all costs. This is great. And so, okay, Dave Walker says this. Let's see. What does Dave say? Dave Walker says, yeah, my favorite thing about Duncan is he seems so totally chill and normal. Just a great painter and teacher. Makes you trust him and yourself as you're painting and learning.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I want people to have the confidence to at least give things a go.
What would you say to, you probably get asked this question a million times a day, but like to a new painter? Because there's a bunch of comments. Like, what advice would you give to a new painter?
Oh, don't be scared. You know, you're going to make mistakes. Things are going to go wrong, but you're going to learn through all of it. Anyone can do it. That's why I keep my first miniature. That's why we still got them in the office, because my first model's was terrible. I made so many mistakes on it, but it's because I didn't know anything and I had to learn it all and figure it all out. And I was very shy, so I wouldn't really ask. These days, it's very different with the amount of resources you got available to you. But you shouldn't let any kind of fear of, oh, if I paint that thing and it looks rubbish, people are going to laugh at me. I'm not very good. You know, like that's all poisonous thinking. That is. If you want to achieve the results that you like see on the box and you want to make your army look as cool as that, you can do it. It's like anything, you know, if you want to learn a skill, it takes a bit of time and effort, but it's not like it's not rocket science or anything. Once you understand these fundamental basics, you can really do anything. So I think, yeah, I just encourage them, just give it a go. Don't be scared of failure, I guess.
So if you were to put the fundamental basics into chapter headings, what would it be?
Oh, well, tooth and coats and then your paint would be in there. Brush control would be a thing about how to actually like hold the miniature in your brush, and just simple things like today we were doing a video where we were talking about a thing of like, you know, having you like I'd see it a lot in these painting sessions at like Adepticon. People would be trying to paint the thing and they'd be sort of like have their hands like that and the hands would be floating all over the place and you'd be like, right, pause there, put your hands there like that. Like, now try it. And they're like, oh, my hands aren't shaking anymore. There you go. So it's like, so that's the thing. Like, how do you hold these things? It's all super basic stuff that often just gets forgotten about. So I think, I think that would be kind of, like, you know, what brush to use and what palettes for. These kind of fundamental things. Once you got like nail down those techniques, it's like, all right, so what color do I start with? And that all depends on what you paint in this way.
So brush control, tooth and coats. The Big Red Bear says, it's not just for new people. I've played tabletop and built/painted models since I was 8. I'm by no means a perfect painter, but I can say Duncan has helped improve my hobby after more than 20 years.
Oh, I'm really glad. That's great. There's always something new to learn. Like for me, like if I start thinking, oh, I know everything, I don't need to learn anything else, then it's like, yeah, you're in for a rude awakening. There's always something new to learn.
Always learning.
There's always something to get better at. Oh, yeah.
What was the latest thing that you've learned?
Oh, I've been learning non-metallic metals at the moment. It's been a thing I've been doing. So I'd probably say that because our members have been asking for a video on it. So what we're doing is approaching doing it in our kind of way. So yeah, I'd say that. Oh, I did some more wet blending for a video. That's not done yet, but I've been working on my ability to do that as well.
So okay, so we're gonna do a couple more questions, and then we'll do a chaos comment bomb. Okay, so question number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Does Duncan miss Warhammer Fantasy?
Yes. You want any more than that? I can go into detail. I miss it because of the world. I liked the game. I do like the game. I even miss Warhammer Ancients, which is basically Warhammer Fantasy, like 5th edition, but with a different kind of arena of weapons rather than magic. I just really like the Warhammer Fantasy world. So Warhammer Total War is just amazing, just to see it all come to life. Definitely miss my Bretonians. But I also understand why the move to Age of Sigmar happened, because the reality was that Warhammer Fantasy just wasn't selling that well. Just how it was. So something had to happen, otherwise it was going to end and that'd be it. There's ups and downs of how all that was done. I think a lot of lessons were done. I don't think you'd see Games Workshop doing End Times in the way that they did it before. I think it would be done in a radically different and much more open way, because I don't think the community took it in quite the way they expected it to. At least that's what I perceived anyway. But you can see that, you know, they're aware that there's a demand for it. With the announcement of the old world, like, well, okay, so Warhammer Fantasy returning in some way. I've been saying, I remember saying in some of my seminars, like, we just end up chatting about Warhammer Fantasy with the people in there. And my hot take was, I bet you within the next 10 years, Warhammer Fantasy will return in some form or another. And what I expected it to be was a module of Age of Sigmar style rules, but with the Warhammer Fantasy world. I thought it'd be something like that, and it'd be like a little side project. And I even said it'd probably be done by Forge World. Then lo and behold, in like one of my last few days, this announcement comes out of the old world, and like with a square base on it. Now, just to be clear, I've got utterly no idea of how this thing's going to look. I've seen there's lots of rumors about different scales and things and different game systems and like multi-based things, like you see with some other historical games and stuff. I have no idea how this thing's going to look. I just hope it's got Bretonians in it and it's 28mm scale. That's my hope. But if you don't like it, you can always play the old game, I suppose.
So, okay, so before we do Chaos Comment Bomb and do a few more questions here, I do need to request something from you guys, the viewers. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitch or YouTube for that matter, share this live video right now and say, Duncan is about to lead a Chaos Comment Bomb. Join the stream so that you can Chaos Comment Bomb with Duncan. That's all I want to say. So share it so that we can get more, because it's that's what it's all about, is getting a lot of comments on one specific video, which we have, which Duncan has chosen for you guys, which we'll do in a moment. Give you guys a minute to share it, just so there's more. In the meantime, more questions. Do you think that Old World will replace AOS?
No.
Nope. Okay.
Absolutely not. Age of Sigmar's, from what I last heard, was doing absolutely fine and was doing better than what Warhammer Fantasy was doing for like the 3 or something years before it ended. Right. So you got to understand that whilst like I totally get the love for the old world and Warhammer Fantasy and stuff, because like I share that. It was at the time when all that was happening, it was my favourite game. But the reality was people weren't really buying the miniatures anymore. So what do you do? I think they've committed so much to Age of Sigmar now that it would be a bit daft to turn around. So Age of Sigmar is going to carry on developing, and it's going to become its own thing, like like how 40k's got all that deeper lore. Age of Sigmar's on its way to being like that. But I think there's always going to be people who love Warhammer Fantasy, and Forge World stuff is the perfect place for it.
Yeah. Do you think the Lion will get his own 40k model since he has his model in 30k?
Another plastic Primarch for 40k. I reckon one's going to happen sooner or later. No idea what it's going to be. If I was a betting man, which I can be sometimes, especially when it's like if I'm playing Scrabble with my girlfriend and it's a dangerous move where she's going to get a triple letter if I do that, I'll do it because I like the gamble. Like if she didn't get it, I will. Anyway, it's a different story. I think I'm sure they will do one, and I want to make this very clear. I don't know that they're doing one. Remember, I've not been there for a year now. I've got no idea what they're working on now. I would bet that it would be another Chaos one. I would bet it would probably be something like Angron, alongside a big reimagining of the World Eaters with new Khorne Berserkers and stuff like that. Or it would be Fulgrimer with a new wave of Emperor's Children. I would bet it'd be one of those two. And it would be part of a big wave, just like you saw with the Thousand Sons and the Death Guard. It'd be the same sort of thing with a reimagining of what the core cult troop would be. There'd be like some kind of Terminator elite thing, and a few of the units use mini tanks, and it all revolving around a Demon Primarch is what I put my money on.
Yes.
If it was going to be a loyalist, though, could literally be any of them.
Just
no idea.
Anyone, just whoever they do, that's what they do. And
yeah, that knowing the format of how these things have been going over the last few years, I would reckon it'd be one of these Chaos range relaunches.
What's the most difficult model you've ever painted?
So in terms of a video, I would probably say Nagash was difficult. For different reasons, it's quite hard to pick one. Nagash was a very difficult one because it was the biggest, most complex thing we'd done at that point, and I was really scared of getting it wrong as we were doing the video. So there's a lot of more complex things I was having to do, and I was quite scared of getting it wrong on this video format. Archaon was very intimidating, but that video turned out to be great, so that wasn't so bad in the end. I think recently the Silent King was quite difficult because we had a very tight schedule of getting that video done. So that was quite a tiring, intensive week of doing that one. So yeah, probably one of those.
Makes sense. Bigger models, a lot of detail. Okay, so we're going to do the Chaos Comment Bomb now. And if you haven't done a Chaos Comment Bomb before, here, let me just pull this up here. All right, here we go. Okay, so if you haven't done a Chaos Comment Bomb, this is how it works. I'm going to post a link in the chat, and I'll post it a bunch of times, so it's unmistakable what it is. Leave a comment on this YouTube video. This is one today. Duncan himself has chosen this. This is a YouTuber. Or leave a comment something like, Duncan and Dave say hi from the Shrine of Chaos. You have been Chaos Comment Bombed. Collect chaos because this is the best choice in life. Whatever you say, just let this one-up painting, that's the name of the YouTube channel, let him know.
Yeah, that's right.
And what's his name? He's
his name's Alex.
Alex.
He's a lad I met him at Adepticon a year or two ago, and he's basically he just loves the hobby, and he's been inspired enough to have a go at doing painting videos himself. And basically what I'd like to do with this is just to encourage him to keep at it because he puts a lot of work into these, and he deserves some acknowledgement for it.
Fantastic. And he's young. He's what, 15, 16? He's just getting into the hobby.
Yeah, he's not very old. He can see he's really, like I say, he's put a lot of work into it. He's done, so B1 Battle Droids are what we've got here. Star Wars Legion is the thing that he's been doing. He's also done Bosk as well, and you can see in that Bosk video especially, he's put a lot of work into that. And it's like for one person to do all that and to do his tuition the way he's done it, it's not easy. So yeah, like he's done a really good job. So yeah. So say nice things to him and maybe subscribe. I don't know.
Fantastic, man! Look at that, endorsed by Duncan. That's. Okay, so this is sweet. This is what I love. I hope that these notifications are connected to his phone and it's exploding right now.
I hope so, yeah. Because like, think about like he, if he's just going to put this much effort into something off his own back because he's inspired and wants to help people learn how to paint their stuff better, then man, he deserves all the encouragement in the world. He might be doing my job one day. You don't know.
You just never know. And so yeah, I just posted a link again. So if you want to participate in the Chaos Comment Bomb, just click on that link that I've just posted there to the YouTube video and leave a comment on that video. And that's that. Yeah, I like to refresh the comments just to see because, you know, it's fun. And this is great because this particular YouTube channel video had 94 views when we first started, and there were 4 comments. And so that's my favorite when it starts low like that, because then the impact just feels like it's definitely like a fly bazooka type of comment feeling. And it's funny, some people actually suggested that we comment bomb you, which not opposed to. We have comment bombed you a couple times before.
Yeah. Roger will suddenly, because he sees the comments coming up on YouTube, so he suddenly phones me up of going, "What's going on?" And I'm like,
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that because I never know the response, right? Like when I hear it, it's good. It's fun to hear.
Yeah. Roger's like, I have no idea what's going on, and I'm like, well, man, it's just chaos, isn't it? You know, it just happens.
All right, so it definitely happens. I agree with that. Okay, so question here. This is an interesting one to get your thoughts on it. So what do you think about the decision to make the Primaris Marines their own units as opposed to replacing the old Marines? Why do you think that happened that way?
So my theory would be that there's a sort of, well, these new Primaris Marines are so much bigger than the old ones. How do you stop people thinking that their old stuff is now invalid? And you know, like remember with the reaction we're talking about with Age of Sigmar, right? Remember the famous video of the guy who set fire to his Dark Elf army? I think the reason for the Primaris being their own separate units is to basically avoid avoid that bad feeling. And again, I'd like to emphasize, I don't know. I wasn't in the meetings as happened. I just saw the kits coming out. So I would imagine that in the future it's going to be a bit of a merger. I don't know if they'll still be called Primaris or what, or how that gets negotiated. But I mean, it's like the old Space Marines, when you stand them next to the Primaris ones, they do look very squat and very short and stuff. And there was actually a very brief time when Space Marines started getting bigger. If you look at the Death Watch veterans and the Space Marine heroes, the first wave of those, if you stand them next to a Primaris, they're about the same size. So I think there was a wave of that, but like a thought of, well, why don't we modernize them fully? Like, you know, kind of the difference between the Master Chief and the first Halo and the more recent like Halo, you know, the kind of difference of the detail you can put into their armor. So yeah, I think it's basically just to stop people freaking out and thinking that the collections are not in void anymore. But yeah, I foresee that they're gradually going to kind of start to equalize, and I was kind of surprised, but I think, you know, there's evidence of that when you look at the most recent edition coming out and all Space Marines suddenly have 2 wounds, like Primaris.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Which how do you feel about that?
It doesn't really bother me. I think so. I'm always wary of power creep in games. I don't like something becoming too powerful. I think the Primaris tanks, I'd be a bit concerned about that from the sheer amount of guns they got on them.
Yeah.
So I think there's certainly a scaling thing that I'd be concerned about. But when it comes to them replacing, I don't really mind it. I mean, the way I see it, it's like a new version of power armor, so just kind of use them alongside. It's just they look a bit weird compared to the small Space Marines. If you're using the bigger ones, so that very brief wave before the Primaris came out, they look absolutely fine next to them. And when people put classic Marine heads onto Primaris, they look really cool as well. So yeah, it's a thorny issue is the trouble. Like, I don't know, like for me, I wouldn't really mind if they were just a straight up replacement and it was like, hey everybody, we've updated Space Marines, they now look like this. They're basically the same as what you've got, so please don't freak out. We're just trying to make them look cool and we can't think of any way of doing it. Like, just a real transparent way of doing that.
Yeah.
But likewise, I can see why you'd introduce it as part of a story to, again, stop people panicking. It's, you know, when it comes to the internet, people always like run off with the worst possible theory of what it could be, and, you know, hearsay happens and stuff, so it's difficult to maneuver around it. But yeah, like, it's just the nature of it. It's going to happen sooner or later. They're going to get updated.
Duncan.
It's quite a bold way of doing it.
Do you have a pile of shame? Also, do you have any idea what's in there?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've got a huge pile of shame. It's huge. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I bought. I've never got around to painting. When you've got half price at Games Workshop as well, oh, man, that shame pile becomes pretty big, pretty quick.
Could you open a store? Is that how much you have?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we've had some companies have sent us stuff because they wanted to support our business. So they'd send us some of their models for us to paint. So I've got a few boxes of things got that way. It's always really generous of companies when they do that sort of thing. It's really nice. Mm-hmm. But like, I've got so much stuff. My trouble is I'm a hobby butterfly. So I keep flitting between different subjects and I'm like, oh, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. I can never quite settle and stick with things. Which it really irritates me that I do that. But I mean, I've got loads of, like, for example, like it's quite like historical things, right? I've got quite a lot of different historical army things just waiting to be painted. One day I will paint them, but I don't know yet. I mean, like the recent thing, I've actually become quite interested in painting some American Civil War stuff, doing a Union Army. And the reason is because I've had the models for a while, but I saw this photo of someone who'd painted an army. And it just looked really cool. Like, it's like the sort of 1,000-point kind of size army, and I just thought that looks really cool. I'd like to do something like that, and I can learn a bit about the history. So yeah, but at the same time, I'd like to do an ancient army, and I'm like, man, hoplites look cool. And last year, so Roger often jokingly calls me a nerd, and he's like, "What you painting?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I'm painting some Macedonian phalangites or something like that." And he'd be like, "Oh, some Romans, right? You know, I'm painting French Napoleonic soldiers." "Oh, Romans." He doesn't care. He just calls them Romans, and he calls them specifically to like show how little he cares about the nerdy detail that I'm into. Anyway, last Christmas he bought me a box of Romans as a joke. So I've been looking at those recently and going, yeah, I think I can enjoy painting those right now. Yeah, I got a huge pile of shame. It's really embarrassing. It nearly goes to the ceiling.
Is Roger into the hobby too?
Yeah. He's not into it in the same way I am. He just like appreciates it more of like art, because Roger's a very artistic person.
Does he play?
So he just likes painting. Sorry?
Does he play?
Every now and then we've had a few games, but no, he's just more into enjoying painting stuff. He really likes Sylvaneth for all the bright colours. That like he likes the idea of doing them in autumnal colours, so oranges and stuff like that. And he like me, has become interested in Song of Ice and Fire, because when you get into that game, each faction's got a starter box, which essentially is a core box game with all the rules and terrain and dice and stuff, with one army in it, and it's a full-size army. And he loves the concept of all of that as like a self-contained thing. So he's been painting a free folk army for that. So that's what he's got on his desk at the moment. So yeah, he's not quite. I meanwhile, I've painted 3 armies for it now, but he sort of like enjoys it for the artistic thing and like the sculpt of the miniature and bringing it to life.
Okay, cool. That's cool. That makes sense though. I mean, it's kind of contagious too. And even though he's behind the scenes, one can't help but be immersed in it so much and eventually get into it. But we're gonna end it here. So thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. And just one last shout out to you, Duncan, and your channels. If you're watching this on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, I've included all of the links to your social media. So if you want to find Duncan, you can find his website link and his YouTube and Facebook pages there too. And the best way to support Duncan is by going to his website, becoming a member, so you can see even more exclusive content and painting tutorials. And so you can get more immersed in the painting world that is Warhammer and other games in the miniature wargaming. And thanks for all you do, man. Keep on going.
Thanks very much.
Yeah,
it's been great talking to you all, and and catching up.
Stay tuned next week, guys. 1 p.m. Eastern time for another episode of the Shrine of Chaos. And happy wargaming.